I say that real estate is in my blood because my parents worked really hard and they have retired on a residential real estate portfolio.
I think you're blessed and maybe don't realize it. You had the foresight to think about that beforehand and have something planned for you as your kids were getting older.
My ex-husband's family is invested commercially, so again, I have no interest in that, but I spent a lot of time hearing about that and exposed to it.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, as any parent knows, like there is no such thing as free time. I don't need to be part of your financial plan, but I need you to have your own financial plan because I'm being responsible for myself and my family.
I have to wonder if most women would choose the same partner that they originally chose if they weren't thinking about finances.
I'm here sharing inspiring stories about fearless entrepreneurial women to help encourage you to live your life unapologetically. I'm your host, Heather Blankenship. Welcome to the Unapologetically Me podcast.
On today's episode, I'm going to be talking with Candace Horne. Candace is a real estate investor, a licensed therapist, and she's investing in a really interesting niche that I haven't really looked into a lot before. So let's dig in and find out exactly what that is. Candace, I'm so excited to talk to you today because we've known each other for, is it 3 years?
Yeah.
And I feel like we have never really sat down and had a conversation with no interruptions. Because we're either at a retreat or an event like we're at today, and there's like people coming in and interrupting and saying hi, and we're like mid-conversation and we're like, that guy's not good for you. And then like somebody has to walk away.
True.
It's like literally
Accurate.
like couple second conversations each time and we're interrupted. So I'm excited to talk through some stuff with you today because you kind of specialize in a very niche part of real estate investing that people say the words often, but we don't know a lot about what that means. So you're a note investor.
Yes.
What does being a note investor mean?
It's a great question. And I love that you brought up how niche it is because unless I'm at an industry event, I'm usually the only note investor person in the room, which is fun because then I get to talk about it. So the way that I invest in notes is mortgage note investing. You can also invest in medical debt notes. You can invest in car loan notes, etc. But I buy distressed.
So notes is essentially the loan.
The promissory note loan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the notes I invest in are secured by residential real estate. So I buy distressed residential debt. So it is non-performing mortgage loans.
So where do you find an opportunity like this?
There are lots of places you can. I buy from hedge funds. Sometimes small banks sell them. I'm not a big enough investor to buy from the big banks. But banks don't carry bad debt forever. They can't. And so they sell it on the secondary market. There are also individual investors or smaller funds. There's online platforms.
So is this like a relationship based or there's like a MLS of this that you go look through?
The way that I do it is relationship based. I have note investor friends who send mailers, who have websites, who do more soliciting, maybe like wholesalers. So there are lots of ways to do mortgage note investing.
So do you essentially buy the note?
Yes, mortgage note investing is a cash business. And so you are paying cash. You're not getting financing to purchase the debt. Some people are performing note investors, so they are only buying mortgages that people are paying regularly, but it's just also like people who are single family residential investors. They might buy distressed houses that need to be fixed. And so the upside is you're buying at a discount because you need to do work to get it in good quality. And then you have some different options. So it's the same thing, but with the paper.
And so do you sell this? Do you keep it and rent it out? Like all of these are options?
All of these are options. If you think of it in fix and flip, if I buy a distressed mortgage, a way to get that improved to be a performing note, if there's a borrower in place, somebody who lives in their home and wants to stay in the home, maybe they've gotten behind on their payments because of job loss or medical issues. An unfortunate fact of our society and system, which is in place for good reasons, is they no longer qualify for a new loan with the bank. Their credit's bad. They haven't had a good performance history, even if it's for good reasons. And so they're not able to be underwritten for a bank loan. And even if they start performing, paying every month on time, unless they could catch up on the back payments, they're still in default every single month. that impacts their credit score. And most, like, let's face it, like most
and their quality of life.
And their
They're
quality of
thinking
life.
about that all
they're
the
getting
time.
calls all the time,
Yeah.
right? So most people are unable to make up 3 months of a missed mortgage payment, let alone multiple years. I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but I don't have the same constraints that like a Fannie Freddie institution has. And so if there's a borrower in place that wants to stay in the home, we can work with them. Not me, my team. You don't have a property manager, you have loan servicers, or attorneys. And so we can work with the borrowers to get, figure out what a payment plan works for them. Then you would do maybe a trial payment plan. They have some skin in the game. And then I can do a loan mod, a total loan modification. So for them, it's great because it resets the loan to month one. Which means they are paying on time and they're no longer behind.
Okay, so so from somebody who knows nothing about this, it sounds almost like you're now seller financing a property.
It's not seller financing because
somebody lives there.
Yes.
And you're not planning on having that house.
Right.
It's going to eventually be theirs.
Right.
And they're paying you for it, but you own the loan. So if they didn't pay, you could foreclose on them?
Yes, that's exactly it. So that's one of the situations.
And you could get the house back.
Maybe. So if we get them reperforming, then it's good for them because they can stay in the home at a payment they can afford.
Right.
Then it's a performing asset. It's like a fix and hold. So then I have a cash flowing asset, or I can sell it for more than I bought it for to an investor who wants a performing asset.
Sell the note.
Yes.
Okay.
So that would be the fix and flip.
We're flipping our note.
We're flipping our notes, right? Or if they can't stay in or don't want to stay in, or in my case, a lot of times I'm buying the mortgage notes on properties where the borrowers are deceased. There's no one to pay the loan. The heirs don't want it. Nobody's taking it over. That is a foreclosure process. That's the legal process of getting your securing collateral back. If nobody's paying for it, it goes back to the bank because money's owed on it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything about foreclosure really until I was in this business. And so it doesn't mean I automatically get it. It goes to foreclosure auction, foreclosure sale. A third party could bid on it and then they own it. Now, as the loan holder, I do set the opening bid. There are variations by state on how that works. The bank is never owed more than it's owed. And so if I'm owed, let's say $50,000 and the property value is $100,000 and somebody else bids, I set the opening bid at 50, somebody comes in, bids 80, I get my 50, the 30 goes to the estate, or if there are other lien holders, as an example, and then they own the property. But if nobody bids on it at auction, then I own the property.
And you get to set that price though.
But only based on what I'm owed.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I'm really curious, as a background, you were a licensed therapist.
Yes.
How do you go from licensed therapist to this mildly complex version of real estate investing?
Yes. I don't think it's strange, but I get that a lot.
Okay. Talk me through that. Yeah.
Yeah. I say that real estate is in my blood because my grandparents were small business owners. My parents, by kind of default, ended up, we didn't have money growing up, but my parents worked really hard the old-fashioned way, and they have retired on a residential real estate portfolio.
Okay.
And so while that wasn't actively what I did, I would grow up on weekends going with my dad to...
The idea of it was there.
Yes,
You
I'm
knew it
so
was an
comfortable
option.
with real estate as an idea, even though I hadn't done it before.
And it didn't seem risky. Your parents did it, and they were normal people. They weren't these people you put above.
It's very much more comfortable to me than the stock market, which feels like gambling, but other people that is...
Yes. I've never had
strategy.
anybody else besides you
really?
say that. That's how I feel. I'm like, you're like betting that it's going to do
seems
whatever you think it's going to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I put money in the stock market, I'm like, this is like fun money as an experiment.
I might as well play blackjack.
I'd rather go shopping. Yeah. And so I am very comfortable with that. My ex-husband's family is invested commercially. So again, I have no interest in that, but I spent a lot of time hearing about that and exposed to it.
Yeah.
So I worked and then was a stay-at-home mom. And then I was married a long time. I've been divorced a long time. And when I was getting divorced, I went back to school and I finished my undergrad degree. I was very lucky to get into a graduate program right away. And that's how I became a licensed therapist. So it wasn't that long ago. I think I saw my first clients maybe almost 8 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
So I definitely like went back to school when
So you didn't follow the traditional path.
No.
And so that makes it a little, okay. I understand now.
And my kids are older. They're like 21 to 26. And my youngest I had just finished grad school maybe a year or two before, and he was going into his high school years. And I mean, as you know, as any parent knows, like there is no such thing as free time. And in my mind, I'm like, in 3 years, I'm going to have a lot of free time. What am I going to do? Am I going to go back and get my PhD? Am I going to, I had a lot of ideas. I had been passively investing in commercial myself at that point, essentially with like the proceeds from the ending of my marriage, and was able to use that to help me start getting investing. And so I didn't realize how much I learned about real estate being a passive investor. I think I don't know if everybody has this experience, but I read every word of a PPM. I've sat in on a lot of calls and been in a lot of meetings for my passive investing. And so when it came to that point, with my long-term planning brain, I'm like, what am I going to do? And I decided I wanted to learn how to be an active investor. I love my therapy work. I love working with people, but it doesn't fit my highest goals, which are freedom and flexibility. And I knew that investing would, and I knew I'd be in my 40s at that point, and I want to spend my summers gardening, and I want to travel to see my kids and just have more balance in my life.
Listen, y'all, I know today's episode is inspiring, but inspiration alone will never carry us to our ultimate goals. That's why I started the Society of Entrepreneurial Women. It's a mastermind for high-performing female investors and entrepreneurs who are living their lives unapologetically. In a world where most people don't get us, or they try to keep us confined in a small box, the Society exists to turn off the brakes and set you free. We have weekly calls covering investing, wealth building, health, relationships, family, and a whole lot more. We have small tribes to hold each other accountable to our goals. We have in-person, ladies-only retreats to disconnect and drive each other towards our dreams. And most importantly, this is a community where you can be unapologetically you. Celebrate your wins, scream your successes from the top of the rooftop, become best friends with women who get you. We're 3 years in, and I can honestly say my best friends today are all from the Society. Click the link in the show notes to learn more.
So I was looking ahead and realized I'm going to have all this free time. What do I want to do? And
because you're single, right?
I'm single.
And your kids are about to all be moved out of the house.
2 are gone. 1 is left. You don't even have that much time with the high schooler.
I think what you're saying is something that's interesting, because my youngest is a year old right now. Okay. I feel like I will be a grandma before my house is empty.
You will.
With all of the kids that I have. And I don't ever think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have free time someday. But if you don't think about that beforehand, I think that's how a lot of people end up either A, really upset, B, really hard on their kids because they're still trying to control them and live through them, when it's time to like adjust that relationship to more of a friendship, as opposed to so much of that, like someone's in control.
Yeah.
Or if they're married, sometimes their marriages get a little weird because they don't have that kid stuff there anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think you're blessed, and maybe don't realize it, that you had the foresight to think about that beforehand and have something planned for you as your kids were getting older.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I had forgotten. I had seen an example of an older extended family member about 10 years ahead of me. And she, really great mom, loved her kids, and kind of had a whole crisis when they got older, and she didn't have anything in her life except that. And I just always knew that wasn't the mom I wanted to be. Not that I don't want to be with my kids, but I knew that they deserved like space for me and ability to live their own life. So I would need to have my own life outside of being their mom. And so I was really intentional. I mean, I need to support myself and my family financially, of course, but that was the other piece of it, that I need something for myself in my own life. And I was like a full-time therapist. I had the full caseload. So it's not like I wasn't doing anything, but I knew that I wanted my life to grow and look like more, and I wanted more. And so that's So that's what I knew. I knew what I wanted my life to look like. So how am I going to work myself there? And so I decided I wanted to learn how to be an active real estate investor. I thought I wanted to GP for multifamily, which is like so kind of amusing to me now. But that was like the big idea to me.
Okay,
That's all I
it's funny
knew.
that you say amusing to you now, because I thought I wanted to GP for RV parks.
Yeah.
And you go through and you start learning a little bit about that. And I'm like, I don't want to have the life that it requires to be there. I think there's something to be said about knowing you don't want to give up what it takes to get there. And there's some people who, right, they need a kick in the butt, but to be in a spot where you're stable and successful and know that I'm happy here and I don't need the like limelight or the bragging rights or whatever it is that they're trying to get, and the stress that comes along with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also think I didn't really know what all the options were. To me,
Agreed. And I think that's how some people get there. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this seems like something I can do. Like I'll capital raise for, as a GP and do that. So I went to a conference and there was a speaker on every asset class: mobile homes, land, multifamily, commercial, et cetera. And there was
Were notes an option?
There was a woman speaking on mortgage note investing, which I had never heard of. And as soon as in that hour, I'm like, that's it for me. I'm all in. And that, when I'm in, I'm in.
But it kind of aligns with even your profession, like trying to help people.
It's a bonus. I do not work with the borrowers, so it is a business. If I hadn't have gotten into grad school for therapy, I was giving myself 2 application rounds. I was going to go to business school. And so
it almost marries those two things.
I love my life right now because I get to do both. So anyway, that's how I ended up at mortgage note investing.
Okay, so to shift gears a little bit, you are in your 40s.
Yeah.
Your kids are moved out, and you're dating.
A little bit.
I feel
a little bit.
A little bit. I feel like when we're in our 20s and you're growing up as a young girl, you never imagine being a woman in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, like starting over in that relationship area. And once you start meeting people in that phase of life, we all come with baggage. We come with, and like, we could have a whole episode on that, right?
Hours.
And like all these buckets of baggage, right? And you like take the good with the bad with somebody. What's your experience been like dating in this new phase of life with your kids out of the house and thinking about what Candace's life looks like in that second half?
I've been, it's newer that I'm kind of starting to date a little bit on purpose. And again, I was married a long time. I got married pretty young. I've been divorced a long time. And I've loved the season of building and investing in myself.
How long were you married?
Almost like, oh my gosh, how do we call it? Really great for about 15 years. Some struggle. The divorce was like wrapping up between like 17 and 18 years. Wow. I think I filed for divorce about 17 years in, and then it was kind of a dragged out process. So
how many years?
This is my time for me.
Yeah. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And so how many years have you been single?
About like 12 years. I did have a relationship. I've been fully single for 6 years, but I've been divorced for, my marriage ended like almost 12 years ago.
Okay.
So long. I feel like I've been single for 12 years.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
You're raising kids by yourself. Yes. You're making all life decisions alone.
Yes.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's interesting so to your question, I purposefully did not date for quite a long time because my priority and interest is really building my business. And I don't think it's an excuse. It's just a priority. Like, this is the time I want to grow my business. This is my business and life building time. And I really want to have like my life. There's no 100%, right? There's always a path ahead of us, but I really want to have the structure of my life the way that I want it before I get into a serious relationship, because I want to make sure that I'm living the life I want. And then how will being in a partnership make that better, and will it work? I don't want to change my plan of my business, like my business and taking care of my children.
Someone else
are the priority. Yeah. And now that I've, getting settled into entrepreneurship, I'm like, okay, I have a little more time and space, and let's see how this goes. I find it really interesting, like thinking about a future relationship well into my 40s. It's very different than when you're very young. And I think we all say for better or worse, and rich or poor and those things, and we mean them, like grow old together, like you mean it when you're young. But I don't think you know what it means.
100%. And well, I guess it depends on how old you are when you get married.
Well, it depends on how,
Yeah.
it depends on how old you are and you're married, and it depends how many hard life experiences
Yes.
you've had or experienced
Yes.
in your family.
Yes.
And that wasn't my experience at that time.
Yes.
So I've gone through all the ups and downs that life brings, for myself and in my close circle, and thinking about a partnership in the future, like, like we're not getting younger. We know what aging looks like now because at the very least, our parents are aging, and
You've had to start thinking about
that. It's a very different way of thinking about partnership and like long-term commitment and forever, whatever that means. Because you really know what's on the road ahead. Whereas when I was in my, much younger years, you're all in, but you don't really know what's going to come with it. Well, now I know what's going to come with it. And like, as a woman, we, have all sorts of health stuff that happens. And so I think I'm an emotionally stable person. I take care of my family. I take care of myself. So in that regards, I'm a really great partner. And yet I also know that I never want to be a burden to someone in the future. And I'm more worried, I think, about being like the burden to somebody else than I am worried about somebody else being a burden to me, even though we're all going to have health issues. We're all going to have family stuff. So that's a really big piece of it to me. And I guess it probably makes me a lot more intentional about who I'm willing to spend my time with in that regard. Are you able to take care of yourself emotionally, and how do you handle your relationships, and what is your financial plan for the future? I don't need to be part of your financial plan, but I need you to have your own financial plan because I'm being responsible for myself and my family. So it's just different. I won't be building a family with someone else. I don't need somebody to give me a home. I have a home, right? So also, what does that mean when you don't need somebody to do that? A lot of questions around it.
Ladies, it's time to redefine the conference experience with the Society of Entrepreneurial Women Retreats. Step inside a world tailored for women just like you, where you can lead, learn, and unwind in style. Our retreats offer everything from insightful investing sessions to fun activities like salsa dancing, boat cruises, food tours, and so much more, ensuring you come back not just inspired, but truly refreshed. Join a community that celebrates you wholly and supports your every endeavor. Ready for a retreat that changes the game? Visit the link in our show notes and find out how you can be part of this exclusive experience.
So, related but unrelated, one of the reasons I started posting on social media when I did was because I felt really blessed when I went through divorce to already own that first RV park. And I was able to financially support myself and the kids. And we talked about this earlier before we started recording. I could buy groceries and not have to worry about it. And I felt so blessed. And I know that there's so many women who don't have that. So that is why I wanted to start teaching about real estate investing and your finances on social media to other women who didn't really know those things. Because I think it changes your options when you're making the decision on a spouse. And I have to wonder if most women would choose the same partner that they originally chose if they weren't thinking about finances. Because I have a feeling a lot of them would not. And I think your life looks a lot different when you choose a partner. You want them to be stable financially, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. If they were to choose that partner based on something other than finances. Because there is a lot more that goes into staying married to somebody
100%.
than that. And just choosing somebody because they have a good financial situation does not make a marriage work.
No, it doesn't. And it's interesting that you say that because the reverse is also kind of true. So as you know, the other piece of what I do professionally is I coach entrepreneurs, investors, small business owners, right? 6 to 7 figures. Like those are my one-on-one clients. And I love that group because we're all purpose-driven professionals who want more for ourselves. Like we're growth-oriented personally, we're growth-oriented professionally. We want more for our families, for our community. And I see a pattern. I mostly work with women. I work with men too, and it goes both ways. I see a pattern where people who do think the way that we do, their partners aren't aligned in that. So it's not that they don't work or whatever, but maybe they don't have the same drive, which is fine, but maybe necessarily aren't supportive. And so those are some really interesting considerations that are not financially tied, but more like, what do we want our life to look like? And I think a lot of people would have chosen partners differently if we had the foresight, if they had the foresight and we don't. So then what do you do when you're in a great relationship or a marriage and you're misaligned in that way as well? So it's not like there are financial struggles necessarily, but the unsupportive.
I definitely don't think when you're getting married in your 20s, you think about all of these different things. They're like, is he cute? Like, do I like being around him? He's so cute. Yeah, he might be a good dad. And you have no clue because you don't even know what that looks like.
Right? Like to go to the beach.
Yes. We watch movies together. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So Candace, where can people find more information about you?
Yeah. On Instagram and Facebook, I'm your coach, Candace. I don't, on LinkedIn, that's where I speak more about real estate, but I don't need to be public about real estate. I don't teach real estate unless I'm doing small group education. So your coach, Candace, yourcoachcandace.com. And I actually just launched a newsletter, One Life Weekly. The way that when we talk about being purpose-driven professionals and all these things that we want for our life, to me, I'm like, how do I make that happen? Of course, I'm a long-term thinker. We're all like 5 years ahead, 3 years ahead, 90 days. I do that, but that can also feel overwhelming to me. But I know I can't fit everything in a day. And so to me, like a week is the container where I can have friend time, have family time, move my business forward, do something for myself. And so to me, I'm like, how can I live like the most important things in my life every week? So One Life Weekly is my new newsletter.
I love that.
And that's another way they can find me too. Or LinkedIn, Candace Horne.
Thanks for being here today, Candace.
Thank you, Heather.
Nice conversation.
Love our conversation.
Thanks for tuning in today. If you've enjoyed any part of this, make sure to like and subscribe so you get the next episode.
Remember, authenticity is your superpower. Stay unapologetically yourself, and let's continue embracing our uniqueness together. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss the next episode.